Hello and welcome to Get Unstuck and Into the Life and Body You Love Teleclass. I'm so happy that you've joined me. My name is Shiv-FKA and I'm a writer, speaker and coach, and I live in Petaluma, California on a farm with my partner Samaj. Together we are the co-founders of OneWomanRevolution.tv. Today I live a happy, healthy, vibrant life, but it hasn't always been that way. And that's why I'm sharing this call with you today. Because the chances are you are not living the life that you want to live. And I understand. I've been there. So today it's my intention to inspire you into action. Because here's what I know. So often we have a lot of information, but we don't have a lot of implementation. And so it's not really what do we need to do that is the question. It's really, how do we get started? You almost know what you need to do, but you just can't quite do it. Maybe next week, next month, and then you find the weeks, the years have rolled by and you're still in the same place. Well, if that's you, you're in the right place. Now, before we get stuck in, I want to take a moment to thank you for being on this call. There's a Chinese proverb that says, every 1,000-mile journey starts with the first step. By registering for this call and listening to the recording, you are taking the first steps and backing them up with action. It's by no accident that we are here together. You have something deep down inside of you that you know won't go away. I know that an extraordinary life awaits you. Alone, we can do so much, but together, we can do so much more. Now, let me just have a word about keeping an open mind during this call and on your journey, because you are now taking a journey. These are your first steps, and you want to do something different. And so what's going to happen is you're going to take in new information, and this trickster known as new information can have you judging and dismissing things as too simple, or that you already know them, or that you already tried that. In fact, maybe you're thinking, I've already tried everything. But the truth is, you haven't. And that's what this call's about. It's about getting down to the truth. So when this new information comes in, it's very easy to think, as I said, I already know this. In fact, one of my teachers, Lama Surya Das, has a quote that really fits this. He says, it's too close, we overlook it. It seems too good to be true, so we can't believe it. It's too profound, we can't fathom it. And it's not outside ourselves, so we can't obtain it anew. Have you ever found that? It's too close, we overlook it, that the answer we're seeking can sometimes be so close to us that we're actually looking further away. So keep an open mind. And remember that a lot of your current thinking could be the reason why you're stuck in a life and body that you're yet to love. So stay open to the miracle that is you. Now I'm going to share as much as I can in this next hour. There's a lot to share and a lot to get through. What I can promise you is that I will let you know by the end of the call how to stay in touch and how we can support you further. I also promise that this is the beginning of us getting this conversation started. We're going to have more conversations about getting unstuck and how we can live in a life and body that we love. Today, I'm thinking of today like our first date. We're getting to know one another, and it's my hope to plant a seed for you to see how infinitely vast you are, for you to get the courage to look deeper inside yourself so that you can stop doing what you've been doing, so that you can make the change you know your soul is aching for. Because isn't that where the key? To stop doing what we've been doing so we can get what we want. Definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So this is your time to do something different because you want a different result. But as I said, that trickster of information is going to tell you that it's not so simple or it's too simple. It's going to distract you. So keep an open mind and let that information sit and marinate. Think of it like a menu of offerings. What works for you, take it. If it doesn't, leave it. So, who am I and what's my story? Well, this chapter, my extraordinary life, began when I took charge and strayed from the path that others had laid out for me. I made a conscious commitment to be undefinable. I had been tired of fitting into a drop box when people asked what I did. I wanted them to know who I was on the planet, not what I did for a living. I was done with following the rules only to have an empty life, deteriorating health, an expanding waistline, and really only money in the bank to show for it. I'd grown up being told that if I worked hard, I could do and have anything. And I worked hard, very hard. And the harder I worked, the more I earned, and the more my time did not belong to me. I certainly was not living the life of having or doing anything I desired. I became a prisoner to my life. Of course, now I realize that although I thought my job was my prison, I was actually the jailer. I held the key to my freedom, and it took almost dying for me to realize this. As a six-figure international corporate lawyer, my move to the United States was seen as successful. I had made it. This is what I had wanted, yet in getting here, I felt so very empty and even more alone. At over 200 pounds and fighting for my health, and only 34, I was blessed with nearly dying in a house fire. Now, it would take me quite some time to see this as a blessing. But as Pema Chodron says, chaos always precedes order. This was my chaos inviting me to order. It's amazing how death can bring everything into a different perspective. 3 months later, I walked out of that life and into a new volume of a story yet to unfold. And now, after what I call my 10-year odyssey, I've emerged on the other side of life, where it is brighter, lighter, happier, and definitely healthier. And today I'm committed to partnering with others who realize that the path laid out is no longer theirs. To those who know that it's time to forge a new route. How about you? Are you ready to start a new roadmap, no matter where you are in life? To start a journey that's uniquely yours to have? A journey that would start with you working from the inside out? Perhaps you're thinking you don't know where you're going or how you're going to get there. I understand. I had that same thought. In fact, those thoughts kept me in that prison. Because what I thought was I didn't have a choice, and we'll get to this a little later as well, that I didn't have a choice. I had to stay there. But then, funny thing happened. When I had the fire, suddenly options that weren't there before became open. So you don't have to know where you're going or how you're going to get there. That's something we can figure out later. What you really want to know is, how do you want to feel? And we're going to get into that. And once you determine that where you are is not where you want to be, and that's why you're on this call, and that you're worthy of love, especially from yourself, everything becomes possible. It takes a vision, a plan, action, support, and accountability. But it is possible. And we are here to guide you every step, because we've been through it. This is not the first time you'll be stuck, and it won't be the last. I recognized early on in this chapter that working from the outside in was not cutting it. Here I was going round and around in the same old cycles. Do you find yourself doing that? Getting round to the next week, the next month, the next year, and you're still there and still planning to get somewhere else? I'd hate myself, get back on track, feel a little better about myself, self-sabotage out of fear that I might succeed, hate myself, vow to change, feel a little better, sabotage. You get the picture. Even I got tired of reading the same old in my journals. And after the fire, I decided to do things differently. If working from the outside in did not work, I decided to work from the inside out. And what a journey that has been and continues to be. I had to nearly die to make changes in my life. And I'm here to tell you that you don't need to wait until your near-death experience to make a change. You can do it now. So how has being stuck got its claws into your life? Do you find yourself feeling anxious? How about sleepless nights? Do you wake up with your mind racing, can't get to sleep? How's your appetite? Are you eating everything in sight? Or do you have none? What about love? Are you feeling joy in your life? Or are you afraid to take the next step? Do you find yourself paralyzed into inaction? Paralysis analysis, I call it. Got so much going on that you're just thinking about it all, but nothing's moving. In fact, it's quite stagnant. This is stuck, stagnant, it's not moving. Perhaps you don't feel that you're worthy of anything better. Maybe like me, you thought it was too late to make a change. It's okay. You really are in the right place. You're taking action by being here right now. Your journey has already begun. We want to think that it's about taking big leaps. But really, our biggest change can often come from our smallest steps. Small steps, consistently, over time, will always win out over big leaps, not so consistent, and right now. And this is the conundrum we often find ourselves in when we're stuck. We need to find a way out, and we want to do it right now. And even though it is possible to get out of it now, to start getting out of it now, it is a process, it is a journey. And that's where we get ourselves caught up and get our wheels spinning. So how do we stop those wheels from spinning? Let me ask you a question. Do you ever feel like you should be doing more, or beat yourself up for what you did or you didn't say or do? What about coming up short because you're comparing yourself to other people? This is a huge one for me, and for most of my clients. That feeling of not being good enough, that other people know more than you or are better than you. And it's not true. How about your body? How comfortable do you feel in your body when you go to get dressed? If you're going out for lunch, do you get excited about what you can wear? Or do you get breathless trying to find something that you can fit into and feel good? Have you put your life on pause until next week, next month, next year, or until the kids leave? Maybe until you lose 20 pounds or until something happens? Aren't you tired of pretending that everything is okay, while meanwhile you continue to numb yourself with food, alcohol, and guilty pleasures? I can relate. It sounds to me like a classic case of being stuck. And it's probably fair to say that it's costing you quite a lot in your life, your health, and your happiness. I get it. I was there too. The simplest things like getting dressed and going to work were painful for me. I said no to parties and engagements because I didn't want the world to see me. I have clients that do the same thing. They're living a virtual life behind their computers, hiding behind photographs that are 5 years old, wanting to believe that maybe if they could just eat less and exercise more and have a little more discipline and pull their socks up, if they weren't so weak, if they had more willpower, more motivation, if they weren't so alone. Because that's one of the worst parts of being stuck, that feeling of being alone. The feeling that you can't tell anyone Because what will people say if they know how you really feel, if they know what you really are inside, if they know what a failure you are? Have you had those thoughts? I know I did, and I sometimes still do. Having worked with clients and been on this journey myself, I now know that these feelings are not mine alone. I can tell you that you are not broken and that you do deserve everything that your heart desires. Everyone has feelings of being a fraud or more messed up than anyone they know. And these feelings can keep us prisoners in our bodies and in our lives. And it's time for us to set them free. And as I said earlier, we are the ones who hold the key. So whatever prison you feel in right now, it's time to sit down and look and see what's your role. How are you holding the keys? Where are you the jailer? What is the payoff for you being in this situation? Does it afford you more attention? Maybe you get sick and that gets your attention. Does it give you feelings of power? Maybe you are not yourself at work because you feel trodden down at home. And so when you come into the workplace, you exert your power. And you're not feeling like yourself. You see, no one's talking about how we feel inside. So we all assume that we are the only nutters in the room. When the truth is, we are all struggling with something or another. And this is one of the keys. We all have our challenges, but guess what? We get to choose our challenges. So what if we were to look at being stuck in a different way? Because if we want to do something different, then we've already said we have to do it in a different way. And what we've been doing hasn't worked. So what if we need a quantum leap, which is really just a series of small steps taken consistently over time and in a different direction? To stop doing what we've been doing and to start questioning why we're doing what we're doing. There's a great story about roasting a ham at Thanksgiving. 3 generations had followed Grandma's recipe. And the Thanksgiving came and they're making the ham. And the wife started cutting off the sides of the ham, and her husband asked her, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Oh, my mother always did this." And he said, "Why?" And she said, "I don't know. We'll have to ask her." So they called the mother and said, "Why do you cut the ends of the ham off?" And she said, "Oh, I don't know. Your grandma always did it." And they said, "Well, let's call her and ask her why." And they asked the grandma, "Why did you used to cut the ends off your ham?" And the grandma said, "Oh, because my pan wasn't big enough." 3 generations had followed, cutting the ends off without question. Where in your life are you following someone else's path or someone else's ideas without question? Where are you wearing something that doesn't fit you? You see, so much of a quantum leap is a shift in our perception rather than an abundance of action required on our part. A big leap takes place in our mind first. But the challenge is we're often so busy being in inaction and numbing out to listen to the whispers of our mind and our soul. The biggest part of a quantum leap is unlearning what we do habitually without question. As we said earlier, that new information can be a trickster when it's trying to make its way into our thinking. So we have to stay open, but most of all, we have to listen and get quiet so that we can know when to act. Inside of us is the best GPS in the universe. The best teacher is the one within. But we can't hear it if we're not quiet enough. So, what if we could see being stuck as an invitation to change? Rather than seeing it as a place of pain, what if we could see it as a place of transformation? What if we get stuck because it's our soul's invitation to get us moving in a different direction? That it's for us to create the quiet necessary to hear the soul's whisper. Joseph Campbell said, "We must be willing to let go of the life we've planned, to live the life waiting for us." And we go one step further and say, we must be willing to let go of the life others have planned for us, to live the life we were born to live. Where are you living the life that others planned for you and doesn't quite fit you? Because the chances are, where you're stuck today is something to do with living something that doesn't belong to you. What if being stuck is your soul's way of showing you that more is possible? It's not just my story. We hear stories all the time of people before a near-death experience feeling frustrated or imprisoned in their lives, wanting to make change, and then only being able to do it after they nearly died. That something inside of them clicked, some switch was flipped. And this is the switch that's fascinated me since the fire. What was it in me that allowed me to leave 3 months later when I'd spent 18 months trying to get out? And it was doing something different. That was the very first part. The first part was to open my mind and to see that there were other solutions. If I could think of it in a different way, I may see a different solution. And maybe not even a solution, maybe just the next step forward, because we get caught up on wanting to know how to get all the way on the 1,000 steps, instead of knowing that what we need to do is get out and do that first step, and take the second, and take the third. Because without the first, we can't have the second. Before the fire, I didn't even think about my soul. I wasn't even sure if I had one. After the fire, there was something that wanted a connection with something bigger than myself. And then I realized that something bigger than myself was my soul, and how I connect into the world, and how we're interdependent. The chances are, you, like me, are still living the life that you planned as a child or a teen. You know, the one to go to school, get the job, get the house, the partner, the kids, the car, and all the toys that you want. And yet deep down, there's still something inside that pit, empty and waiting to be filled, but not with riches and gold. You've tried that. So what is your soul waiting for? What is it trying to tell you? It's trying to tell you that there's more. It's inviting you to change. It's making you uncomfortable so you can get creative and make the change you need to do. So you can do something different to get a different result. Whichever way we're stuck, the answer is always the same. We need movement. We are stuck because we are stagnant. There is a block in the flow of our energy. If a body was a house, and the plumbing and wiring was our circulatory system, and one of the wires shorts or a fuse blows and the system shuts down, no power can get into the house. The same with our bodies. When we have a blockage in one area, when we shut down in one area, it starts to cause a blockage in other areas, and we start to become stagnant. Most of my clients come to me having tried and tested the traditional way to lose weight. They too are tired of trying the same thing, and they realize that it's not about how they look anymore. They've got to that age, that point in their life where they want to feel better. And yes, how they look is part of it, but they realize that it really is just a part of it, and there is no part greater than the whole. You see, I don't see extra weight and addictions as causes, as the things that we need to fix. I used to, and that's why I spent 25 years dieting and starving myself. And then I realized that life was about living. And so now I see these symptoms of a bigger root cause. And if we can get the cause, all the symptoms will go too. So often we're trying to treat the symptoms, lose the weight, to look better so we can feel better. But what if we feel better now, then we will make better decisions. And if we make better decisions, chances are that's going to include in our health. And we flip it around. So it's time to stop topping off our feelings and concerns and start digging for the roots. And that's what I do. I help others dig for the roots of the causes of the problems, and to invite movement into stagnant ponds of life. These symptoms are our ego's way of distracting us from the real work. And we're going to see this when we get into the wheel of wellness. As I said, I realized that there's no part greater than the whole. I had concentrated most of my efforts into dieting more and eating less and exercising more. And I had abandoned the rest of my life. So in this past 10 years, as I've put my life back together, what I realized was that there were different areas in my life that I actually could have been working on that would have had a ripple effect on the areas that I actually wanted to work on. Does that make sense to you? You see, we have to think about what wellness is. It's not just the health of the body. It is an ease of mind, a feeling of peace in your skin. It's having an active body with a fertile mind, a sharp inquisitiveness of the vagaries of life, and having an intoxicating desire for experience and passion. It's having excitement to wake up in the morning. And so often we think that these elements of wellness come from outside of us. That it's the people around us, our parents, our lovers, our friends, the things, our house, our job, our income, our financial status, our fast car, our Jimmy Choos, the Gucci purse. But what I've found working with clients who can seem to have everything on the outside, as did I, that we can have all of these things and still feel sad and lonely and suffer with addictions. You see, what I found is the key to the emptiness we have inside is the foundation of the wellness that we build inside of us. And we build it from the inside out. And that way, when external circumstances change and challenge us, we've got the core of our foundation to hold us up. You see, so often if we're working on the outside, when a storm comes, it's just going to knock us down. So at some point, we decide that we're just going to go inside and do the work. And what we find out is it's no longer time to focus on the work out, but it's time to work in. And it's not as hard as you think. So let's work the wheel of wellness. I truly believe that wealth begins with health. If you have $1 million and are on life support, that money can do nothing but pay your medical bills. Conversely, if you have a vibrant and healthy body and no money, you can always go and earn cash. Now, when I did yoga teacher training the month after I left law, they put us on a 40-day vegan, no-processed food diet. And before that, I was a soda-guzzling, McDonald's-eating queen. On the no-processed food diet, I ate like a horse and dropped 25 pounds in 40 days. This was a big aha moment. I realized that a calorie is not just a calorie, and that it was about nutrients and feeding the body. 100 calories of chocolate and 100 calories of kale were not the same. I also learned along my journey to health that diet was not isolated from the other areas of my life. As much as my diet had an impact on the rest of my life, I also found that the rest of my life had an impact on my diet. And this was going to be a big one. It was like the chicken and egg. Which came first? I felt like crap because I ate like crap, and I ate like crap because I felt like crap. A cycle was emerging. And this is what we've translated into the wheel of wellness. The wheel shows us where our energy is leaking. Our energy is like a hose, and if we have a small hole, the flow is going to be affected. If we have many holes, we're going to have leaks where we don't even want the water to go. And this is the same with our energy. So it's time to plug up the holes. And we can do that by looking at the wheel and taking inventory of where we are right now so we can see where we can go. The nice thing about the wheel is it splits life into 9 areas, so it really gives us a bird's eye view of what is going on and where you can start working right now to start making a change today to take your life from feeling blah to feeling fantastic. It can be as simple as adding in a couple of elements on the wheel into your life without anything else changing. This is where we start to live our best life, and we retire living our better life. Right? We make the best of what we have while we have it. Let's get into the wheel. So what we're going to do is, to start with, I want you to think about your life as a whole and give it a score out of 10. How happy are you on a scale of 1 to 10 with your life right now? And now let's go into each of the sections. Your physical health. Do you get to move enough? Does your body do what you want it to do? Is it able to do the things that you would like it to do? Are the things that you would like to do, but your body holds you back? How is your physical health? 1 to 10. 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. Give yourself a score. And what about sleep? Do you sleep well? Do you wake up in the middle of the night? Or do you have problems sleeping? Do you have to take medication to go to sleep? Do you self-medicate to go to sleep? What's your score out of 10 for that? How about your diet? Do you drink enough water? Do you eat vegetables? Do you have some salads and raw foods in your diet? Do you feel good about what you eat? Or are you always thinking about what you shouldn't be eating? Give yourself a score out of 10 for that. What about work? How happy are you in your work? Is it an environment that supports you as a human being? Is it a friendly place? Do you have purpose outside of your work, or is your work your purpose? Is there purpose in your life? Give yourself a score out of 10 for that. Now, spiritual. Is there a part of you? I said earlier that before the fire, I didn't think I had a soul. And after the fire, I definitely wanted something bigger. Jim Carrey says that he used to believe that who he was ended at the end of his skin. That spiritual aspect is that part of us, that soul aspect that is more than our physical body. Do you have a connection with that part of yourself and with that part of life? Give yourself a score out of 10. Soul time. Now, soul time is that time that you could not eat or drink, or you just are be here, be now. You have that feeling of it doesn't matter, you're right in the present moment. Do you ever get those times? And let me just tell you that these sections, even though they're all out of 10 and they're equal on here, they don't have to be, you don't need a ninth of your life to be soul time. But you need some part of your life to have soul time, some part of your life to have a spiritual aspect. Going on to the next one, love and joy. Now, we often think of love as a partner, and that can be one of the most beautiful loves that we have, but it can also be its own prison. But the very, very best love we can have is our own love, our self-love. That love that is like a foundation to our house that keeps us strong even when the storms come in. That love that when we put another love next to it is only heightened and made more beautiful. And the joy that comes from laughing with friends, taking a walk in the woods, jumping into the cold ocean. Whatever it is for you that gives you that squeal, how much love and joy do you have in your life? Give yourself a score out of 10. Giving and receiving. I'd hazard a guess, if you're on this call, you're probably a giver. Right? You give and you give and you give, and this is why you're on the call. How are you at receiving? Because this is an energy flow. We must receive as well as give. And when we do receive, we are giving someone else the gift of giving. You know how good it feels to give, right? Well, when you receive from someone else, you allow them that gift to give to you. How easy are you to give to? Be it a gift, a compliment. Do you run it off or do you take it? Give yourself a score out of 10. Emotional and mental. Are you a basket case or are you pretty stable? For me, I was pretty much a basket case. But how's your emotional and mental state of being? Give yourself a score. And then we add these scores up. And we get a score out of 90. And when we add that to the life score, the score out of 10 that you had originally, as to how much you like your life, and we combine those two totals, that's where we get the total score. So the life score and the wow score. And what we have left, the difference between what you scored and 100, that is your gap. That is the potential. So actually the bigger the gap, as in the lower your score, the more potential you have to start increasing your life right now as of today. So how do we do that? Let's go back into the wheel and let's talk about where most people come in. For me, they're wanting to lose weight and they want to feel better. And so they've been concentrating on the physical and the diet, and of course they're going to work, so they're doing that part. But then maybe the rest of it's not working. What I've found is when we feel bad, we don't make our best decisions. When we're not at our best, we don't make our best decisions. When we're at our best, when we feel good, we make better decisions. When we make better decisions, we feel better. And we've already said, when we feel better, we make better decisions. This is a cycle that we want to encourage in our lives. And this is one that we can use the wheel for. Because back when, thinking that we need to eat less and exercise more, what if actually what we need is we need to sleep better, and we need to have less stress in our work. Perhaps we need to balance the stress in our work with a spiritual practice, some meditation. Perhaps the physical work that we're doing, the working out and the going to the gym that's not working out for us, maybe that needs to be something that's more to connect us with our body, the yoga. Remember, I gave up the gym and took up yoga and stopped dieting and released 85 pounds and 66 inches. By working the wheel, by stopping thinking that I had to concentrate on what I ate, I started to work on how I slept. I started doing yoga in my physical section. I started doing meditation in my spiritual section. I started going into the woods and into nature more and more for my soul time, which actually brought more love and joy into my life. I started receiving compliments without batting them away. That's a pretty dress. Oh, this old thing? You look beautiful today. Oh, I look tired. Ever do that? So how we work the wheel is, if I start to get some better sleep, then in the morning when I wake up, I'm going to eat food that supports me, make better decisions. Then if I've made better decisions with my food, I'm going to feel like working out because I've got the energy. I'm starting to feel good. And if I'm starting to feel good, the stuff that's getting me down at work is not going to get me down as much because I'm starting to feel better in my foundation. And then I go and do my meditation and my yoga, and I feel even better. And then I sleep better again, and I get up the next morning, and I eat better, and I go and do my workout, which is my yoga, and I do the meditation, and life starts to feel better. So when we start to work the wheel, we start to look at the different areas, what we do is we look at those areas that have the lowest score. So say, for me and for most of my clients, the spiritual aspect can be missing. Just putting in a meditation, a connection with something bigger than you, going to church, whatever it is, can start increasing your score. And imagine you have 9 sections. So increase 1 or 2 points in a couple of sections, and you're going to be soon living quite a different life. So that's the wheel, and it's showing us where our energy flow is affected. Okay, and I'll be doing some videos on this, so we'll actually do more on working with this going forward. But right now, let's have a kind of wrap up of where we were with the getting stuck and what we've already covered. So we know that we're stuck because we have no movement, we're stagnant. We need to do something different. We get stuck in many ways, and the answer to get unstuck is to always invite movement in a different direction or a different way of thinking. So this is where we have our paradigm shift, that very small shift that yields us long-lasting results. We also know that discomfort is a part of the process. And when we know that it's part of the transformation and we don't fight it, we have more energy to do everything else because we're not fighting what is happening to us. It's the butterfly in the cocoon. It's the gooey mess of the cocoon with the butterfly waiting to emerge. You know you have your wings, but you need to go through the process of emerging into your beautiful butterfly self. And we can't rush that. We can keep taking our small steps consistently over time. We can also look at being stuck as an invitation to be more you, an invitation from your soul to know that there's something more in life for you. Maybe you've been thinking too small. Maybe like me, I thought if I lost some weight, my life would be great. And it turns out that I went after a happy life and I lost the weight anyway. But now, not only did I lose the weight, but I have this beautiful, happy foundation that it's built on. We also learned that it was time to stop working out and start working in. Evolution is an inside job. The other big thing about being stuck is that lonely feeling, that feeling of being the only nutter, of being so alone, which is why community is so important. If you're feeling alone, even if you're not feeling alone, come over to Facebook and join us over at onewomanrevolution.tv. And that's where we can really continue this conversation. Perfection can be our biggest enemy. Good enough imperfect action is our best friend. Taking action, doing what we can with what we have right now is what will get us started. So that's how we start to get unstuck. And I'd promised that I would tell you about why your diets haven't worked and why it's not about willpower and it's not your fault. And I've touched on some of these things, how I stopped dieting and cancelled the gym and ate more and lost weight. But let me just touch over them again. So let's talk about diets. The diet industry is worth $20 billion annually. And 108 million people at any one time are on a diet in the United States. And yet most of us, numbers say 84% of women, are not happy with how they look. So what is it about these diets that's got us trapped? Well, we already talked. We're trying to do the same thing and expect a different result. We know that diets don't work. They keep us in the hope structure. And we just keep hoping that they're going to work. We need to make a change and we need to do it differently. You don't need to diet. You need to start working from the inside out. You need to start taking care of the foundations and going into the dark corridors of your soul to see what's there for you. I already touched on how I lost 25 pounds in 40 days after struggling with my weight for over 20 years. And I started my Kundalini Yoga teacher training. And they put us on, as I said, on a no-processed food diet, which just means nothing in a can, nothing in a box, all whole foods. And I lost 25 pounds in 40 days. It's not about so much what we eat and when, but the processed food, the food products, the eating the real food, eating whole food. If you start eating whole foods today and stop eating processed foods, you will notice a difference in your body and in your mood and in how you look and in how you feel. The most important part of this journey for you is to work out what you can do right now to make you feel better right now. You can't wait to lose 20 pounds, to get the partner that you love, to get the promotion that you want. Time is running out. You need to be happy right now. How can you find happiness right now? How can you make yourself feel better right now? Things like gratitude, being grateful for having our breath, for a roof over our heads. When we actually get down to it, there are a lot of things that we can think about that we have already to bring us back into feeling whole and present right now. And if there was one thing that changed my life and changed my clients, and I'm going to do an interview with one of my clients about this, I said that I was going to show you one thing today that gets you out of feeling blah to fantastic. And that is drinking water. I know, it sounds so simple. Drinking water can transform your life. It will transform your body and your cells and your thinking and your clarity. And oftentimes what I found is, for myself, I didn't like the taste of water. I didn't start drinking it till I was 34. And I then would forget to drink it. So what I do with myself and clients is get them to set an alarm. So every hour, set an alarm to drink 8 ounces of water from 9 to 5. This is your 9 to 5 job. This is the first step you're going to take on your step to wellness. You're going to make a commitment. And I'd love for you to come over on Facebook and tell us that you're doing it. To drink water, 8 ounces every hour on the hour from 9 to 5. And you'll start getting used to that. And then you can start to drink some more. But this is a huge tip. And it's, as we said at the beginning, it's one of those simple pieces of information that you want to look and say, really, it could be that simple? And yes, really, it could be that simple. So, more water. Whatever we're looking for, inspiration is always going to take us further than information. So today, I hope that you've had a combination of information that you can put into action and inspiration to fire you into that action. Because so often we know what to do, but we just don't have the wherewithal or the inspiration to do it, or the motivation or the support. And as I said, there's no part greater than the whole. So once we start putting all of these things together, and it's a lot of information today, we're going to continue this conversation and just start where you're at. Go through your wheel, get your score. Sit down and start getting honest with yourself about what you like in your life and what no longer serves you. Stop thinking about the how and allow your mind to be open and look in a new direction. You are greater than you could ever know. Now, I know that you've had a lot of information in this past hour, but remember when we started at the beginning and I talked about that 1,000-mile journey beginning with the first step. Coming off this call, that's what you need to do. Take the first step. Don't get stuck in thinking, there's so much to do, I don't know what to do. Take the first step. And if you don't know what to do, set the alarm and drink water. Do something. Do something different. And you'll get something different. It's been my pleasure sharing these tips with you. I look forward to sharing so much more. We'd love for you to stay in touch. Tell us your stories, your triumphs on Facebook. And if you're ready to take the next step, you can go over to facebook.com, onewomanrevolution.tv, and book time with us. And book a discovery session to see if working with us is your next step. Once again, I am so happy that you joined us. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you again. This is Shiv-FKA from onewomanrevolution.tv. There is a one-woman revolution in each and every one of us. Thank you, Sat Nam, and I will see you on the other side.